Why true leaders listen. An ancient African story. Long ago, in the heart of ancient Africa, elders taught that a leader's greatest strength was not his voice, but his ears. This is a story passed down through generations, a story about power, pride, and the wisdom that can only be found when one chooses to listen. There once stood a flourishing kingdom called Ilara, resting between rolling savannas and a great winding river. The soil was red and fertile, the air warm with promise, and the land echoed daily with the sound of drums, laughter, and life. Ilara was a place where tradition ruled alongside progress. The people believed their ancestors walked with them, watching closely, guiding quietly. Decisions were not made in haste, and rulers were expected to listen, not just to warriors and nobles, but to elders, farmers, hunters, and even children. At the center of this thriving kingdom stood the royal palace, its carved wooden pillars telling stories older than memory, its bronze symbols honoring kings long gone. And upon the throne sat King Adesọba. King Adesọba was young, strong, and fearless. He had risen to power after a series of great victories, expanding Ilara's borders and securing its wealth. Under his rule, enemies feared Ilara, and neighboring kingdoms spoke his name with caution. The people admired him, the warriors obeyed him, the praise singers sang of his courage, but slowly something dangerous began to grow within the king: pride. Each victory convinced him further that his judgment alone was enough. He began to believe that wisdom flowed from the throne outward, and never the other way around. Council meetings grew shorter. Advice was dismissed more quickly. Questions were replaced with commands. A lion does not ask sheep how to rule the forest, the king often said, and many applauded. But the elders remained silent. Among those elders was Baba Ifale, the oldest man in Ilara. His back was bent with age, his voice soft like evening wind, but his eyes held generations of memory. It was said that Baba Ifal had advised three kings before Adesọba, and that none who truly listened to him ever ruled poorly. One season, Baba Ifal noticed troubling signs. The river that nourished Ilara was shrinking. The winds carried unfamiliar dust. The animals behaved restlessly. During a council gathering, he rose slowly and spoke. "My king," he said gently, "the land is changing. The river is speaking. We must prepare." King Adesọba leaned back on his throne. "Old men have always feared change," he replied. "Ilara has always been strong. The river will return." Baba Ifal bowed his head and sat down. The warning had been given, but it was not heard. Days later, a young palace servant, barely 16, approached the guards at dawn. She had grown up by the riverbank, fishing with her mother, learning to read the water the way others read books. "The fish are leaving," she whispered. "The river's about to turn against us." The guards laughed. "Does a child advise a king?" one scoffed. And the message died before it could reach the throne. Soon after, King Adesọba announced a great festival, larger than any Ilara had ever known. "We will celebrate our abundance," he declared. "Let all see our strength." Granaries were open. Food was consumed freely. Palm wine flowed day and night. Drums thundered, dancers filled the square, and laughter drowned out quiet concern. But beneath the joy, the earth suffered. The sun burned hotter. The soil cracked. The river retreated further each day. Weeks passed. The crops failed. The cattle weakened. The granaries stood empty. Hunger crept silently into Ilara, entering homes that once knew plenty. Anger replaced celebration. The king summoned the elders in fury. "Why did none of you warn me?" he demanded. Baba Ifal stood again, calm and steady. "My king," he said, "we warned you, but advice ignored is the same as silence." The words struck harder than any enemy's blade. For the first time, King Adesọba felt the weight of his crown, not as honor, but as responsibility. That night, unable to sleep, the king removed his crown and placed it on the ground beside him. He walked out of the palace alone, without guards or titles. He walked among the people. He listened to farmers who spoke of broken soil, to mothers who rationed their last grain, to hunters who found empty forests. And finally, by the quiet riverbank, he found the young servant girl. She did not tremble this time. "The forest upstream has been cut," she said. "The river cannot breathe. The land is crying." The king knelt. In that moment, power bowed to wisdom. The next day, King Adesọba returned to the palace, not as a ruler who commanded, but as a leader ready to listen. He restored the authority of the council, protected the forests, ordered trees planted along the riverbanks, introduced careful rationing, worked beside the people, not above them. Months passed, clouds gathered, rain fell, the river returned. Ilara survived, not because of strength, but because of humility. Years later, when King Adesọba was old and gray, he gathered the young leaders of Ilara and spoke words carved into the palace walls forever. "No voice is too small. No wisdom is too old. A leader who refuses to listen rules only himself." He was remembered not for his victories, but for the day he learned to hear. And so, this ancient African story reminds us of a truth that still holds today. True leadership is not about speaking the loudest. It is not about power, pride, or control. True leaders listen. They listen to warnings. They listen to experience. They listen to those beneath them. Because history has shown us, again and again, the fall of leaders begins the moment they stop listening. And the greatest strength any leader can possess is the humility to learn. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy the story, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.